Hey people, it's Niaz talking. Now, this is an article from the BBC News called Letter from Africa. Should Ghanaian women be limited to free babies? In our series of letters from African journalist, Elizabeth Ohene considers the controversial proposal to limit women to having free babies in Ghana. Among the Ga, the people who are indigenous to Ghana's capital, Accra, a woman is entitled to a live sheep on the delivery of her 10th child. The word for this is Nyong Mato. I am not making this up, even though it does sound like the kind of apocryphal story that is regularly made up. Lots of very important people among the Ga can't testify to this. Unfortunately, I have not met any woman who's actually got a live sheep for having given birth to 10 children. Indeed, I've never met any woman who's had 10 children. So, what's the point of mentioning that if you haven't met any woman who's had 10 children? I don't know if I've been moving in the wrong circles because I don't even know any woman who has had 5 children. Okay. As soon as I wrote that, I realized I was wrong. 2 months ago, I went to the funeral of a female relation of mine who was my classmate in school. At her death, this relation of mine had 46 direct descendants, made up of 8 children, 26 grandchildren, and counting, and 10 great-grandchildren and counting. I was scandalized. I spent the entire funeral going over these figures and moaning to myself how easy it was to find the reasons for the poverty in Ghana. I've been waging a lonely, unpopular battle about the rate of population growth in our country and against women having so many babies, but to no avail. I roll out what I consider to be sound argument I thought would win over all doubters. I cite Norway, which had a population of 3.5 million to Ghana's 5 million at the time of our independence in 1957. Today there are 5.3 million living in Norway, while Ghana has a population of nearly 30 million. Okay, I want to stop this right there. These people are trying to mislead the audience. You see, Norway is a developed country, so there's no more room for the population to grow in any significant place. It's only grown 50% in 50 years, so that's not really a lot. Ghana started out as a third world country. Now, when countries are growing and economically they have fast population growth, this is proven. You know, if you read Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, he mentioned that in the US, you had a population that doubled every generation. But if you look at the United States, now, about 240 years later, the population is stagnant. Or, in some cases, it's negative. It's going down. It's aging, and the birth rate is not keeping up. Okay? Eventually, the birth rate will moderate as time goes on because infinite growth is not capable. It's not possible. We're not amoeba where we will just grow like fungus to cover the sea. Anyway, let's go on. We don't count children. I make the argument that even if none of our rulers ever stole any public funds, we'll still have economic difficulties at this rate of population growth. The last time I visited Lillehammer in Norway, I wrote in my column about the difference in two situations. I pointed out it is no wonder everything is bursting at the seams and we are forever worrying about the lack of classrooms. Somehow these arguments don't cut any ice with people here because it is considered extremely bad taste to complain about the number of children somebody has. Someone once claimed to me, in our tradition, we don't count children. So Elizabeth Ohene, Dr. Appiah is an exceptionally brave woman. She has proposed that women be restricted to having 3 children. No, she is a sellout. She sounds like Margaret Sanger. Margaret Sanger was the founder of Planned Parenthood. She said that black people were human weeds, they needed to be exterminated, and she set up Planned Parenthood to slowly weed out black people. That's what this woman sounds like, a bloody white supremacist. The good news is that I don't feel alone in this battle. Into the fray has jumped the executive director of the National Population Council, Dr. Letitia Adelaide Appiah, and believe me, she is an exceptionally brave woman. Yeah, she is not speaking in parables, she is straight to the point. She has proposed that women be restricted to having 3 children and says this should be obligatory. Oh, so Africa should now be China. Not only should China be in Africa, but we should behave like the Chinese and start telling people what to do and how to live their lives. Okay. If a woman goes beyond the sacred number of 3, she would be punished by being denied access to free government services. Oh, okay. So if you get denied access to government services, can you refuse to pay tax? Oh, I didn't think so. We have to talk about the quality of life, Dr. Appiah has been arguing. I don't recall that anyone in official position has been this categorical in Ghana about family planning ever before. We have had a family planning policy since 1970, but people usually only talk about the spacing of births and then hope that the spacing will lead to the birth of fewer children. This time around, Dr. Appiah is urging a cap on the number of children a woman should have. It is interesting to note that the people who claim to be outraged by the proposal to limit the number of children have been largely men. I'm sorry, none of their arguments stick in my mind long enough to repeat here. Actually, I have not heard from any women. It's just you and this professor who both seem to have an agenda. I'm not hearing from anyone. You have not cited anyone's opinion, at least no one I can see. I have not yet heard any woman complain that they don't want the number of children they can have to be restricted. Again, you've not talked to any woman apart from people who are in your field. Okay, Ghana's fertility rate, that is the average number of children per woman, currently stands at 4. Although that figure has fallen steadily over the last 30 years. Okay, so you're saying that the number of children being born is slowly falling. So if this natural way of going, it will just go to maybe 2 or 3 or 1, maybe, if you just leave time to go because the population will stabilize. And so the average is about 4. It's close to what you said, 3. So again, this is a lie. Another interesting statistic worth noting is that there would not have been a single death from measles in Ghana since 2002. Measles used to be one of the main infant killers and the main justification for having many births. This week I've been doing a very unscientific survey. Every pregnant woman I have seen, I have asked which number it was, and I have not yet met a woman in her third pregnancy. But I'm probably looking in the wrong place by asking working women in banks, offices, and shops. The high birth rates can be found mostly in the rural areas. There might yet be some women who are aspiring to get that live sheep. We would probably have to find an equally attractive present for every woman who decides to stop at 3 or below. The problem is I can't think what can possibly challenge a 10 baby sheep Naomi. She's right, this is unscientific. Okay, I mean, it's one thing if you just had your opinion, but you're trying to make a scientific fact. Oh, I just asked enough women. Okay, what if you were in one county and there they had loads of children, but if you went to the other county, they said we don't want so many children, that the average was 2. How do you know? You didn't do any research. You didn't have any. We haven't got sample sizes. We haven't got the number of people you asked or questions, or how many lived until the age. Okay, maybe every woman had 5 kids, but how many of them lived to the age of 5? If they die by the age of 5, does that count as having a child? No, there's no scientific basis to this. This woman is just making these nonsensical arguments to push population control in Africa. Okay. And no one should take this woman seriously. And I'm gonna put a post up I saw on Instagram that's gonna sum up this whole thing perfectly.